Hi everyone, Crosshair Junkie here, welcome back to the channel. I've got a video on some advice and tips for newcomers to the game since it's soon going to be a month since it's released to PlayStation, so I'm sure a lot of people are going to start playing the game more. Watch the video, I hope you can take away some of the advice. I'm not a pro by any means, these are just things that would have been really helpful to me that I couldn't find at the time since there's not a lot of content out there on Vigor compared to other games. Anyway, let's get into it. My first advice would be to play the tutorial and pay attention. It's really important you play it and take your time to listen to everything your guide is saying. You'll find I might mention a few things that she already tells you. Remember that in actual encounters you'll be with 11 or up to 11 other players, so learn the basics. There's a lot that gets taught in the tutorial. As you go through it, you'll be introduced to your shelter where you'll be prompted with loads of useful tips, whatever you interact with, and read everything. Don't skip through them thinking you'll pick them up as you play, because you might, but reading the tips will save you a lot of time. It'll teach you the basics and what to do. Secondly, at this point, as a new player, your main focus should be primarily upgrading your crafting table so you can get better weapons and consumables that you can take into encounters with you. Each upgrade gives you better weapons and takes longer to upgrade as well. I'm currently on level 10 and for the weapons I like to use, I've already unlocked at level 10, so I'm not in a rush to upgrade it anymore. You need weapon plans in order to craft weapons, and your crafting table needs to be a certain level before you can craft a specific weapon, even if you have the plan. The plans themselves, you can get them from crates you open and they can be difficult to come by, but that's what this game is all about. It's a massive grind. So as confident as you might be, stay low, upgrade your crafting table and grind for those weapons and resources. Otherwise you'll probably get ambushed at the valuable loot sites by someone that's watching you. Next, speaking of getting ambushed, if you're not very confident in facing other people and getting into gunfights, then use your shooting range to get a feel for each weapon and how they handle. They all handle differently. I know it might sound tedious to some, but trust me, it will really improve your gunplay in general, or when it comes to recoil control and bullet spread, which was what my biggest struggle was. Also, the scarecrows have the same damage as a player, so definitely practice there to improve your gunplay. Next thing I want to talk about is carrying capacity. Only take what you need into encounters, because the more loot you carry, the heavier you'll become, which means you'll also run a lot slower and you'll make a lot more noise. If you are absolutely full, get out to an exit point as soon as you can, because literally there's nothing worse than leaving with none of your loot. Otherwise, there are a few things you can do to avoid the situation. Take some stamina tablets in with you. I take at least 2 every encounter. But if you do forget that, then take a minute or 2 to sort your loot out and get rid of a few things that aren't so important and just keep what you really need. I guarantee you'll be carrying a few things that you won't ever use. Something else worth mentioning when it comes to weight is the weight of a weapon, so keep an eye on that, and in general be careful with how much loot you're carrying. Now, you might not always want to go into an encounter with a weapon because at this stage you just might not have enough. There are weapon crates on the floor in specific locations in each map that you can loot from, and there'll be plenty of weapons in them with ammunition. If you do find them, it's definitely worth remembering where they are in case you ever need a weapon in an emergency. This thing really confused me for so long when I first started playing this game. To switch your weapons, press triangle on the PlayStation or hold R1 and it will bring up your weapon wheel, and then from there you can select each weapon. I know it sounds really stupid, but I just could not figure it out for so long. Also, don't forget you can holster your weapon by holding triangle and it will let you run faster as well. Next thing is regarding aim and aiming down your sights to increase accuracy. On PlayStation, press R3 to aim down your sight when you want to engage in a long range combat and use third person for short range. Be aware that you might have to manually adjust your aim. The game won't do it automatically, so when you are firing in ADS, remember to take it out of ADS so you aren't freaked out when you fire your next shot. That brings me on to my next advice, which is using single fire or burst when you're shooting. Most of the weapons apart from handguns and some snipers can be used in full auto or single fire. You have that option. Press the down arrow on PlayStation to switch between single fire or burst, and it will be incredibly useful when you're engaging in combat. 80% of the time I use single fire because I just think it improves my accuracy massively. I barely use full auto, but it's good to know that that option is there for you. When you get into encounters, pay attention to the direction of radiation. If you open up your map, you've got 3 arrows around the edge of the map and it will tell you where it's going to start from. At the start of the game, take a second to figure out how you want to move around the map. You don't want to be running around blindly to whatever house you see, because when it's time to get out, you're stuck having to run across half the map and there'll be others making for exits too, so the last thing you want is getting into a gunfight with radiation affecting all your screen. So it's definitely worth taking a second to just choose your rotation and what exit you want to finish on. Ideally you want to be where the radiation is last to reach. My next tip is complete your challenges and pay attention to them, because they are incredibly easy for new players and the rewards you get are amazing. I remember a few that I had that was something like craft a weapon or craft a submachine gun or use the signal tower twice. Really stupid stuff, but I remember getting like 2 weapon crates and 50 crowns, so pay attention to them. You'll find them on your home screen. So my last advice is, if you are in an encounter on your travels scrounging around and you come across someone who's going mad at you but you might not be interested in a fight, use your gestures. A hey is like a white flag basically. It can mean you aren't interested in a gunfight, or you aren't armed, or you aren't a threat to him in general. Don't hide, because that can still mean you're a threat. At least to me it does, and I'll hunt you down because I despise campers. I'm mentioning this because you definitely will be in that situation. You either don't have weapons or you're carrying so much loot that you don't want to lose, but you're not confident in engaging in a gunfight. I've used it a couple of times and you will find fair players that will stop, or they might even help you loot, or just leave you alone altogether. So there you are. I've lost track of how many that was, but hopefully it wasn't too overwhelming. Keep what I've said in mind. They'll definitely improve your gameplay, or at least give you a really good foundation to the game. I had to learn the hard way, so if there's anything you can take away from the video, then I'm happy to have helped. Give it a like if you find it helpful. I'm also going to be releasing a video on advice for more intermediate players, so subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it, and I'll catch you in the next one.